NBC Nightly News continues with America at War. Here again is Tom Brokaw.
It is called Operation Desert Storm, and this is the latest in the war in the Persian Gulf. The bombing of Iraq and Kuwait now in its second full day. The results so far appear to be right on target. Well over 1,000 bombing raids have taken place. There has been very little resistance so far from the Iraqis. At the Pentagon, NBC's Catherine Couric with how the United States gained the upper hand so swiftly.
Just before H hour, 3 a.m. Persian Gulf time, Tomahawk cruise missiles burst into the night sky, traveling hundreds of miles to light up Iraqi radar on their way to key targets in Baghdad. According to Navy sources, the missiles, more than 100 of them, hit 9 out of 10 targets and paved the way for warplanes like the Wild Weasel to seek and destroy Iraqi radar. 30 stealth fighters, first used in Panama with limited success, slipped in to take out targets including Scud missile sites in western Iraq that threatened Israel. B-52s carrying 100,000 pounds of bombs apiece took out buildings and carpet-bombed Iraqi armored units in Kuwait, while F-15 jets protected them against Iraqi fighters. The same role assigned to carrier-based F-14s.
Of all of the air sorties that went in, we are rating 80% of them as having been effective, meaning the aircraft got to its target, delivered its ordnance, and returned. A-10
Warthogs and Apache helicopters pounded forward deployed Iraqi tanks. The conductor of this complicated aerial ballet? AWACS, giant air traffic controllers in the sky. Following months of planning, months of rehearsing, the Pentagon says Act 1 of Operation Desert Storm was virtually flawless. Command and control problems minimal, a huge feat considering the scope and multinational character of the mission. The air war continues and may for several days.
But after 12 and almost a half hours of this campaign, I am very pleased that our initial objectives have been achieved. I am satisfied with the way the campaign is unfolding.
Satisfied may be an understatement. Most Pentagon officials are elated that these so-called smart weapon systems, unmanned bombs and missiles with computer brains, have outsmarted the enemy, at least for now. Catherine Couric, NBC News, the Pentagon.
In the Persian Gulf, no let-up. The Allied onslaught against Iraq and military targets in Kuwait continued throughout the day, and Brad Willis was up front in Saudi Arabia.
January 17th, the Marines of Task Force Ripper woke up at sunrise to find themselves at war.
Waging now a military operation to liberate Kuwait.
None seemed to believe that it would happen this quickly.
It kind of came as a shock to me a little bit. You could hear the rumbles last night when it was real quiet. It's like, wow, okay, it started.
Although well below the Kuwaiti border, in the early morning hours here, we could hear the faint rumble of some bombing to the north, dim flashes of light on the dark horizon. Before the war broke out, 2 soldiers in a heavily fortified bunker, thinking about the conflict to come and wondering why.
I'll probably see a lot of shrapnel injuries, a lot of pretty bad stuff, you know.
You know, everybody gets scared a little bit, but, you know, I think, you know, everything will work out to the best.
By morning, the war had begun, and an eerie calm had set over this camp. Marines waiting for the next stage of battle.
It's just beginning. He is a very big military, 4th largest in the world, bigger than the United States, and we do have a fight on our hands.
With the Marines of Task Force Ripper, Brad Willis, Saudi Arabia.
NBC's Arthur Kent joins us once again from eastern Saudi Arabia, where he has been tracking this war from the beginning. Arthur, we are told tonight that Iraq now has lost its chemical warfare capacity, but are you still under alert there?
Well, yes, as a matter of fact, Tom, just this afternoon we spoke to the vice governor of Saudi Arabia's eastern province, and he advised me and everyone else in Saudi Arabia, this corner of Saudi Arabia at least, to keep our gas masks handy, that there was still a threat of attack, that it was still a big unknown as to what Saddam Hussein's forces might throw this way.
What about airplane activity from Dhahran? That's a major base for F-15s, of course.
Well, Tom, we're still seeing about 12 to 20 aircraft per hour scrambled out of here. That doesn't sound like an awful lot of aircraft, but let's remember that there are a great number of airfields participating in this attack. These are just two very specific kinds of aircraft, the Tornado and the Eagle interceptor, a ground attack plane and an interceptor. So the attacks, the waves of attacks, still going on.
NBC's Arthur Kent in Saudi Arabia at this hour. It has been a very long day for President Bush, who was first seen in the White House press briefing room at 5:30 this morning. As you might expect, the war was the only item on his schedule today. NBC's John Cochran, what's the White House plan for tonight and tomorrow and beyond?
Tom, the president has already gone over from the Oval Office to the residential part of the White House. There he'll keep track of things, both from intelligence reports and from television reports. And then tomorrow he'll go over to the Pentagon War Room for a detailed briefing.
Meeting with his cabinet, the president said Saddam can retain control of Iraq, and he can pretend he is not surrendering, as long as he surrenders.
He can call it anything he wants, interpret it any way he wants, but we are going to prevail. I don't want to get caught up in some semantics about all of this. He's got to get out of Kuwait, and got to do it with no concessions or no condition.
Bush got good news from his aides that financial markets were reassured both by the success of the airstrikes and by Bush's decision releasing some of the government's oil reserves to prevent panic.
Let's don't assume that there's going to be a shortage of crude, which we believe there will not be, even though we are at war with Iraq at this time.
Tomorrow afternoon, if things are going well, the president will leave to spend the weekend at Camp David. Of course, there are plenty of communications there for the president to keep track of the war, Tom.
John, it's been some time since we've had an official briefing on what is going on in the war. What are you picking up at the White House tonight?
Just before I walked out here from inside the White House, I was talking with an official. I was asking about the Syrians. I said, if called upon, will the Syrians go into Kuwait? You know, that's supposed to be the agreement, that the Syrians would not send their troops into Iraq, but that they would go into Kuwait. The official would say only, well, we'll know pretty soon, won't we? I said, would you explain that, please? He said, no, I won't go any further. The implication, of course, is that there's about to be a ground attack into Kuwait and that the Syrians would take part. That's all I know.
All right, thank you very much. John Cochran tonight. The Iraqis would have us believe that Saddam Hussein emerged from his bunker today and responded to the attack with propaganda and defiance. No retreat, no surrender. There's no way to be certain, however, when these pictures were taken. The only clues to how Saddam Hussein spent the day were provided by Iraqi television. He was portrayed as a man at peace with himself and beloved by his people, despite the hardships he's putting them through, cheered by soldiers and civilians alike, visiting residents and small children. Iraqi television also showed a determined Saddam Hussein apparently meeting with his military advisors, then delivering a tough speech promising death to Americans, denouncing Saudi Arabia's King Fahd as a traitor to Islam. Saddam himself was shown as a defender of the faith, kneeling in prayer on a rug facing Mecca. When we return, reaction from around the Middle East.
To get rid of her gray, my wife can spend 40 minutes. But I discovered the 5-minute hair coloring.
The revolutionary discovery called Just for Men from the leader in men's hair coloring. Simply apply Just for Men and in 5 minutes shampoo out.
Gray is blended away. The look of my natural color is back in 5 minutes. That was me, and it won't fade or wash out.
My hair takes forever, but you look great in just 5 minutes.
The look of your natural color in just 5 minutes with Just for Men.
New Alpine Lace American Slices.
Tastes so good.
Low cholesterol and 50% less sodium.
Hey, so good.
2/3 less saturated fat.
Healthy and tasty American. Tastes so good. Alpine Lace.
I've got to pick up some Vaseline Intensive Care lotion. My skin's so dry.
How do you get dry skin?
From doing dishes and housework. And someday you'll be old enough to help me.
What? And get dry skin?
The Middle East is one of the most volatile regions in the world. It's a tinderbox, and a big fear has been that a U.S.-led attack could be a lighted match. NBC's Keith Miller joins us now from Amman, Jordan. Keith?
The reaction from the Muslim world was swift, Tom, but it was not unanimous. The war in the Gulf has created a dramatic split in the Arab world. Jordan today opened its border with Iraq, allowing refugees sanctuary from the bombing.
We don't want blood to be paid for nothing.
The government condemned the attack, calling it a vicious aggression against an Arab and Muslim people. The war will leave wounds all across the Middle East. In Iran, President Rafsanjani labeled it a historical catastrophe. In Tunisia, the PLO said this was a black day in history. In Algeria and Morocco, thousands demonstrated in support of Saddam Hussein. Syria, an unlikely member of the alliance against Iraq, said no one can shed a tear for this regime. In Egypt, after news of the attack, Kuwaiti refugees celebrated in the streets. And some Egyptians praised America's lead in moving against Iraq. But in Dubai, in the Gulf, the headline told the story. People were frightened the battle could spread. Added security was posted around U.S. embassies in Muslim countries. Many experts predict an aftershock of hostility against the United States.
I don't think the Arabs are going to lay down their arms and surrender. Not now, not ever. And the struggle will continue. And I don't say that in the sense of threat. Another Saddam will come along. He may come along in Iraq, he may come along in Egypt, in Jordan, in Palestine, God knows where.
On the streets of Jordan, there was anger.
America, no good. Israel, I see anyone, I kill him.
One man called the attack on Iraq a national shame. To many Arabs, this has been a day of humiliation. Saddam Hussein has been able to transform himself, at least in the eyes of some Arabs, from brutal dictator to champion of Arab nationalism. Tom?
Thank you, Keith Miller. Directly to the west of Jordan, of course, is Israel, where there's an air raid warning now underway, and we go to NBC's Martin Fletcher. Martin?
Tom, we're hearing the air raid siren. It's the first time that we've heard it since the invasion, since America went to war. We've heard a big bang. We've heard the siren. The people of Tel Aviv are going now, are putting on their gas masks. That's what they've been told to do. In the studio with me now, everybody is piling in with their gas masks. I can't confirm what it is exactly, but we assume that it's a missile fired from Iraq. Amazingly, we had a tip that this would happen. An American source told an Israeli source who told us to expect such an attack, and it looks like it's happening, Tom.
And do they believe that it may have chemical capacity, Martin? And if they do, you'd better get your gas mask on and stop talking to me.
That's certainly true. Everybody else in here has got their gas mask on. I have mine here ready. But it's too early to know. It could be conventional, it could be chemical. The Israelis have long doubted, although they've been threatened with chemical war, they've doubted that Iraq really would use chemical warheads. But I guess we'll just wait and see. We can't confirm yet that there's a missile.
Martin, you go off and find out what's going on, but put your mask on, if you would, please, right now, and then we'll find out later what is happening. It's late word from Israel that there's an air raid warning going on tonight. There was an explosion heard in Tel Aviv. We do not know what that means. There could be any number of kinds of explosions, car bombs and otherwise. It could be a missile. We have no confirmation. We'll ask Martin Fletcher to get back to us and to you as well as soon as he is able to get additional details on that. We'll be back in a moment with a look at the battle still ahead.
Roger just can't stop talking about the terrific taste of new Arm & Hammer Dental Care Gel. Right, Roger? Mm-hmm. It has the cool taste of freshly picked mint, doesn't it, Roger? And it has the baking soda our dentist recommended. We'll never go back to our old gel, will we, Roger? New Arm & Hammer Dental Care Gel or paste from the baking soda experts. Anything else you'd like to add, Roger?
The same medicine found in the prescription drug Motrin.
The same medicine found in the prescription drug Motrin.
Same as in Motrin in non-prescription strength.
The same medicine found in the prescription drug.
Did you ever notice that a lot of pain relievers seem to be saying the same thing? Well, if you want the same medicine found in the prescription drug Motrin, wouldn't it just be simpler to ask for Motrin IB? Non-prescription strength Motrin IB. You can't buy a more effective pain reliever without a prescription. Motrin IB. Accept no alternatives.
Looking for a great place to take your family on vacation? Start right here. There's lots of water sports by the seaside. Lots of activities for kids. There's even a supervised children's program. And for those who think a family vacation should include seeing some faraway places, there's no better place to see them than from right here. Take a 3, 4, or 7-day fun ship vacation on Carnival, the most popular cruise line in the world.
When we left you a moment ago, NBC's Martin Fletcher was reporting from Israel that air raid sirens were sounding there, a warning of some kind. He said an explosion was heard. Now NBC's Fred Francis from the Pentagon tells us that American military officials say no sign of any missile launch from Iraq toward Israel, and they would be able to lock on electronically to determine, in fact, whether that had happened. We're still awaiting additional word, of course, from Martin Fletcher. As soon as we get it, we'll be back to you. With us now are NBC's military consultants during this long time, and that is General William Odom, as you can see at the top of your screen, now retired, teaching at Yale University, and military strategist and teacher as well, Colonel Harry Summers, here with me in New York. Colonel Summers, let me begin with you. Is it possible for an air and missile attack to be so successful that ground troops would not have to be used at all?
It is possible. It's rare, very rare. It'd be a great rarity, but it is possible. And I must say, giving the early reports on this account, which I think are almost unbelievable, it gives some credence to that.
What causes you some pause at this hour, General Odom, as you read these reports coming in? Do you think that Saddam Hussein has something up his sleeve?
No, I think we're seeing some better picture of how the campaign is going to proceed now. I think the elation that Fred Francis and Catherine Kirk reported over in the Pentagon has to do with the damage assessments, and I think they have taken out what they went after. But there really is a big force there, and it'll take a while.
General Odom, we're going to go now to the Pentagon and NBC's Fred Francis. Fred, what do you have for us?
We can confirm from senior administration officials that there was some kind of explosion in Tel Aviv, quite possibly a missile launch. Apparently the launch was not detected, and we're not sure where the launch came from, but a senior official said there has been an explosion in Tel Aviv. They described it as serious, and if you know somebody there, call them and tell them that. And that's the latest information we have. But this launch was apparently not detected, because they have been detecting just about everything. Even the overhead satellites have been detecting our own launches against Iraq. But this one was not, and there was no early warning on this one, Tom. And that's the latest from the Pentagon.
All right, Fred, we'll ask you to try to dig up some additional information. We'll talk here with Colonel Summers and William Odom about the fact, if that is true, that there has been now an attack launched on Israel. It changes the equation instantly, doesn't it, Colonel Summers?
It could. If Israel responds, if Israel gets into the war, it certainly would put a major strain on the coalition. Not necessarily pulling it apart, but certainly putting it under great strain.
And General Odom, is it conceivable to you, given the Israeli electronic intelligence and all that we've got in the air over there, that the Iraqis could get off a missile to go all the way to Tel Aviv without detecting it?
I believe it is. The warhead doesn't have to emit. They could decide to launch the thing without any emissions from the warhead. So I think it's entirely possible.
But doesn't it have to have some kind of a guidance system, radar or otherwise?
It has, it can have an inertial guidance system, which would not necessarily be emitting.
All right, we'll try to get additional information on this developing story now out of Israel after we come back right after this.
Here's some staggering statistics for you. The average age when kids start drinking is 12 and a half. They start smoking dope before age 12. That's hard proof that even young kids aren't too young to learn about drugs and drinking. So teach them now, before they learn on the streets. The more you know about it, the more you know you have to talk to your kids early, because later can be too late.
Okay, so you had this baby. Cute. Drooled a lot. You couldn't wait for him to start talking. But now, he's a big, loud kid, and you can't wait for him to shut up. Time out. Your kids need you to listen. To really listen. They need to know what they say and what they think is important. The more you listen to your kids, the more confidence your kids will have. Besides, if you listen to your kid, you might just learn something.
I want you to listen to me. I want you to cross at the corner and look both ways when you're running out there in the street. Because people today, they drive crazy and they will run right over you. And I don't want anything to happen to you because Daddy and I